American Versailles. Inside the Biltmore Estate, hidden deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains, stands a home so grand, so impossibly vast, that it seems almost unreal. A mansion with 250 rooms, a private library of 22,000 books, indoor gardens beneath glass ceilings, and a banquet hall fit for royalty. This is Biltmore Estate, America's Versailles, a palace built by a young Vanderbilt heir who dreamed of creating his own world. A world of art, elegance, and unimaginable luxury. But behind the beauty lies a story of ambition, pressure, and the true cost of living like royalty. Because Biltmore is not just a house, it is a monument to a moment in American history when money moved faster than tradition, when the nation's richest families tried to build their own version of Europe's grandeur, and when one man decided that enough was never enough. Tonight, we step through the gates of Biltmore and inside the American Versailles, the Gilded Age. To understand Biltmore, you must first understand the world that created it, the Gilded Age. After the Civil War, America surged forward with a new kind of energy. Railroads stitched the country together, carrying coal from the mountains, wheat from the plains, and steel into cities that seemed to grow overnight. Factories glowed late into the evening, shipping ports filled with goods. Banks and brokers turned industrial success into vast personal fortunes. But the Gilded Age was never only about progress, it was also about contrast. On one side, towering wealth. On the other, crowded tenements, exhausting labor, and workers who built the country's prosperity without sharing in its comfort. This tension shaped everything: politics, culture, and even the way the rich designed their homes. In New York, Fifth Avenue became a corridor of power. Mansions rose like fortresses of marble and limestone. Carriages stopped beneath private canopies, and behind the doors, dinners and soirees formed the social engine of American influence. In Newport, the wealthy escaped summer heat by building cottages that were anything but modest, grand houses designed to compete with European palaces. Every new mansion was an announcement. A family's fortune was real, and their place at the top was secured. A new class of millionaires emerged. Families whose wealth rivaled Europe's royalty, but without the centuries of lineage and tradition that made European titles feel legitimate. So they created their own traditions. They commissioned portraits, collected art, bought land, and built mansions not only to live in, but to declare who they were and how high they had climbed. In the Gilded Age, architecture became a language. A marble staircase meant prestige, a ballroom meant influence, a library meant refinement, and a chateau on a mountain meant you had something more than money. You had a myth, and none climbed higher than the Vanderbilts. Now imagine arriving at Biltmore for the first time in 1895. The drive alone is part of the design. The road winds through carefully managed forests and open fields, revealing the house slowly. You do not simply reach Biltmore. You approach it like a destination, a pilgrimage. Then the facade appears, towers and dormers, carved stone, steep roofs, and windows arranged with the confidence of a European chateau. Even from a distance, the message is clear. This is not a typical American home. It is a statement that America can build on the same scale as Europe, perhaps even larger. And that is why Biltmore earned the nickname America's Versailles. Versailles was designed to project authority and culture. It controlled how guests moved, what they saw, and what they felt. Biltmore, though privately owned, works in a similar way. Its hallways create suspense. Its rooms create theater. Its details create the sense that you have entered a world where everything is intentional. The house is not just big, it is choreographed. Biltmore also reveals something psychological about the Gilded Age, the desire to be permanent. Fortunes can vanish, markets can crash, public opinion can turn, but stone feels enduring. A chateau feels like it will outlast criticism, outlast competition, outlast the uncertainty of modern life. George Vanderbilt's dream at its core was not simply luxury, it was control. Control over environment, control over aesthetics, control over time. By surrounding himself with beauty, culture, and a landscape shaped to his vision. Yet history reminds us that permanence is an illusion. The moment George died, the estate's future changed. The world moved into a new century, and the social systems that once supported private palaces became less stable. The same forces that allowed Biltmore to exist, industry, wealth concentration, low taxation, vast domestic staff, began to shift. And that is where the story becomes modern. The Vanderbilt dynasty, The Vanderbilt dynasty began with Cornelius the Commodore Vanderbilt, a man who built an empire of steamships and railroads. He did not inherit his fortune. He built it hard, strategic, relentless. In an age where transportation meant power, Cornelius understood something essential. Whoever controlled movement controlled the future. By the late 1800s, his descendants were among the richest people on earth. But wealth at that scale creates its own gravity. It pulls expectations inward. It demands that every generation look impressive, live impressively, and prove their importance in a world that is always watching. The Vanderbilts built palaces across America, homes that glittered with marble, silk, gold leaf, imported stone, and European craftsmanship. In Newport alone, their summer houses became symbols of American extravagance. The Breakers, Marble House, names that sounded like myth, and rooms that looked like theater. Yet one Vanderbilt stood apart, quiet, private, obsessed with art and books. He was not drawn to gossip-filled ballrooms or the endless competition of society headlines. His name was George Washington Vanderbilt II. George was educated, thoughtful, and intensely curious. While others measured success in parties and appearances, George measured it in ideas, learning, art, culture, and the quiet pleasure of knowledge. He traveled extensively through Europe, visiting galleries and estates, studying architecture, and filling notebooks with observations. He loved books, but he also loved the idea of building a life around them, not simply owning luxury, living inside it, shaping it, controlling it. He cared little for New York society's endless competition. He longed for something timeless, serene, and, above all, his own. A home not to impress the world, but to escape it. And there is another layer, the cultural ambition. George Vanderbilt collected art and books not only to show wealth, but to build a personal universe of taste. In the Gilded Age, taste was power. If you could display the right paintings, the right furniture, the right imported materials, you could signal that your family was not merely rich, it was refined. Biltmore speaks that language fluently. Its European inspiration is not random. It is a deliberate claim. America's wealth can produce culture. America's industry can produce beauty. But that claim is always contested because culture is not purchased as easily as stone, and history has a way of deciding which monuments matter. Biltmore matters today because it became more than a claim. It became a document, one that people can walk through and interpret for themselves. Building a palace in 1888, George traveled through the mountains of North Carolina, the mist, the silence, the endless green. For a man who had spent much of his life surrounded by noise, business, expectations, social pressure, this landscape felt almost spiritual. He began buying land, at first modestly, then endlessly. Thousands of acres became tens of thousands. He imagined not just a house, but an entire world. Forests, farms, gardens, roads, and a private estate that could function like its own kingdom. This was the dream, a place where George could read, collect art, host carefully chosen guests, and build a life untouched by the constant performance of New York wealth. To bring the vision to life, George hired the best. Architect Richard Morris Hunt, America's elite architect, was known for designing homes that made their owners look like royalty. Hunt understood how to turn wealth into architecture, how to shape stone into status, how to make a facade feel inevitable. George also hired Frederick Law Olmsted, the genius behind Central Park. Olmsted didn't just design gardens. He designed atmosphere, paths that revealed views slowly, forests that felt ancient, fields that felt peaceful, landscapes that felt as if they had always existed. Together, they planned a French Renaissance chateau, unlike anything the nation had ever seen. A residence inspired by the great chateau of the Loire Valley, ornate, dramatic, and breathtakingly refined. Construction lasted 6 years. More than 1,000 workers labored day and night, stonecutters shaping blocks by hand, carpenters framing roofs, ironworkers forging details, artisans carving ornamentation. A private village of labor formed around the project. Housing, supply lines, schedules, and constant movement. Every day, wagons arrived with materials, and every evening, the structure grew higher and more detailed. Stone by stone, room by room, the largest private home in American history rose from the mountainside. And while the exterior looked like old Europe, the inside would become something even more radical. A palace built with modern ideas, electric lighting, Advanced plumbing, elevators, heating systems. Luxury designed not just to look impressive, but to function flawlessly. George named it Biltmore, his sanctuary, his world. George Vanderbilt's choice of collaborators shaped everything. Richard Morris Hunt understood how architecture could perform. He had studied in Paris, where design was treated as a discipline of beauty and hierarchy. Hunt brought that European sensibility to American wealth, creating grand entrances, dramatic staircases, and facades that made owners look like dynastic rulers. Olmsted brought the opposite energy, restraint. He believed landscapes should feel natural, even if they were carefully engineered. At Biltmore, Olmsted didn't simply place gardens around a house. He designed an entire environment, forestry practices, farm layouts, and long-range views. The goal was to make the estate feel ancient, established, inevitable, like it had always belonged there. This is the subtle genius of Biltmore. It is theatrical, but it also tries to feel timeless. Outside the house, the estate extends that same philosophy. Olmsted's work at Biltmore was partly aesthetic, but also pioneering. He approached the land as something that could be managed intelligently, forests cared for rather than stripped, farms planned rather than improvised, views shaped rather than left to chance. The entrance drive is designed like a slow reveal. Trees frame the first glimpse of stone, curves of road delay the full facade. The mind builds anticipation, and the moment the house appears feels earned. Then gardens take over. Formal spaces near the house, more natural spaces further away, and beyond that, fields, forest, and working land that makes the estate feel larger than architecture. This is the power of Biltmore's setting. The mansion feels like it belongs to the mountains, as if it rose out of the landscape. But that natural feeling is engineered. It is designed pretending to be destiny. Inside the American Versailles, when Biltmore opened on Christmas Eve 1895, it stunned even America's wealthiest families. Guests arrived expecting grandeur. What they found was a private universe, one that combined medieval drama, Renaissance elegance, and modern comfort into a single statement of power. Inside Biltmore, the sense of scale is immediate. Corridors stretch, ceilings rise, and each doorway suggests another room beyond it, another scene in a carefully designed world. The banquet hall rises 7 stories high, its vaulted ceiling stretching upward like a cathedral. Massive fireplaces, medieval tapestries, carved wood, and long tables create the illusion of a European castle, designed to make guests feel as if they had stepped into a different century. But the magic is in the details, the way light moves across stone, the way the room echoes softly, the way the space makes you lower your voice, as if you were inside a sacred place. Nearby, the winter garden glows with tropical plants beneath a glass and iron ceiling. Light filters through palm leaves and curved glass, turning the space into a living jewel. An indoor paradise designed for calm, conversation, and beauty. The library is George's soul, a sanctuary of 22,000 volumes, lined with dark wood and filled with the quiet dignity of knowledge. This was not decoration, it was identity. Here, Biltmore becomes personal. You can almost imagine George alone in the evening, reading beneath warm lamplight, listening to the mountain silence outside, choosing thought over spectacle. But Biltmore also offered pleasures that felt futuristic for its time. An indoor pool with brilliant tiled walls, a bowling alley, a gym, and modern utilities that made the palace function like a machine. The most fascinating feature, however, is what guests were not meant to notice. Behind every elegant room was a hidden world. Staff staircases, work areas, storage rooms, kitchens, pantries, laundries, an invisible architecture designed to keep the visible architecture perfect. Service corridors allowed meals to arrive at the perfect temperature. Bells and signals coordinated staff movement. Doors blended into walls. The illusion of effortless luxury depended on constant, precise labor. Biltmore wasn't just beautiful, it was revolutionary, blending old-world grandeur with modern luxury in a way that made America's richest families feel for a moment like royalty. Christmas Eve of 1895 carried a symbolic weight. Opening a palace at the end of the year, during a season associated with tradition and family, felt intentional. It told guests that this house was not a temporary display. It was meant to become a legacy. Picture the scene. Winter air outside, warm light inside, staff moving quietly behind doors, guests stepping across thresholds and pausing, Not because they were told to pause, but because the scale demanded it. A hall that felt like a cathedral, a garden under glass, a library that looked like it belonged to an older world. For the elite, it was astonishing. For the workers who built it, it was proof that the project was real. And for George Vanderbilt, it was the moment the private dream became public reality. A reality that would carry both admiration and burden for generations to come. Inside the house, the experience shifts from scale to detail. A guest might start in the grand spaces, the banquet hall, the galleries, the formal rooms. But Biltmore's luxury is often found in the quieter choices. The texture of carved wood, the weight of doors, the softness of carpets that silence footsteps. And then there are the modern comforts that most guests wouldn't have expected in a castle. Electric lights, carefully placed, soften shadows. Plumbing systems support an enormous household. Heating makes winters livable. Food storage systems support long dinners and busy seasons. This is where Biltmore reveals a distinctly American ambition. It is not only trying to look European, it is trying to outperform Europe by combining old-world beauty with new-world technology. In a way, Biltmore is the Gilded Age itself. Elegant on the surface, engineered underneath. When guests toured Biltmore, they encountered a curated identity. Public rooms were designed for spectacle, rooms that could absorb attention. But private rooms were designed for comfort. That balance matters. A palace that is only spectacle becomes exhausting. A palace that is only comfort becomes invisible. Biltmore tried to be both, breathtaking to the visitor, livable to the owner. This is why the house often feels like a film set, yet also feels strangely intimate in certain corners. A reading chair placed near a window, a quiet hallway with softer light, a small room where the noise of grandeur fades. These moments remind us that behind the dynasty was a person, a man with preferences, moods, and a desire for solitude. Let's step deeper into the house within the house. A palace like Biltmore functions on two levels: the visible level, where guests experience elegance, and the operational level, where the estate behaves like a small city. Consider a single formal dinner. It begins long before anyone arrives at the table. Menus are planned, ingredients are secured, kitchens prepare multiple courses with precise timing. Silver is polished, glass is checked for smudges, flowers are arranged, fireplace wood is stacked. The goal is not simply to feed guests, it is to maintain an atmosphere. An atmosphere is fragile. A door that squeaks, a draft of cold air, a late course, a stain on linen. Any small mistake can break the illusion of perfection. So the estate develops a rhythm, signals, routines, and quiet discipline. Staff become specialists. Some handle service, others handle laundry, others handle gardens, others handle maintenance. Each job is invisible to the guest, but essential to the story Biltmore is telling. In this sense, Biltmore is a machine for comfort, beautiful, silent, and endlessly hungry for effort. The staff systems are a world of their own. In many great houses, luxury is measured in what is visible. At Biltmore, luxury is also measured in what is hidden. Service corridors allow staff to move quickly. Workrooms are positioned to reduce noise. Staircases are tucked behind doors that blend into walls. Even the timing of meals is designed to feel effortless, as if comfort simply appears on demand. This hidden architecture tells a deeper truth. Wealth on this scale is not only a matter of money, it is a matter of organization. It requires planning, hierarchy, and constant coordination. It requires people. And when society begins to change, when labor becomes more expensive, when social values shift, when taxes rise, those systems become harder to maintain. That is why so many great houses disappeared. Not because they were ugly, but because they became impractical. The illusion of effortless living became too costly to sustain, the cost of grandeur. But beauty this grand comes with a shadow. Biltmore required hundreds of staff, endless supplies, and a fortune to maintain. Its elegance depended on invisible labor. Cooks preparing meals for dozens of guests, cleaners polishing marble, gardeners shaping landscapes, caretakers maintaining fireplaces, machinery, and miles of corridors. In the Gilded Age, the wealthy could afford this invisible army. They built worlds that ran on service, and they rarely looked directly at the effort required to keep those worlds alive. And Biltmore was not only a mansion, it was an ecosystem. The estate included farms, dairy operations, forestry, and carefully planned land management. Olmsted's landscape was designed to be beautiful, but also productive, sustainable, and controlled. Yet even the most carefully planned estate could not control history. The early 20th century brought shifts that changed the meaning of wealth. Public scrutiny intensified. Maintenance costs rose. The era of limitless private staff became harder to justify. Then the world changed faster still. Wars, taxes, and economic downturns. The Gilded Age began to fade, and the social world that once celebrated extravagance began to question it. George Vanderbilt died at just 51, leaving the estate to his wife Edith. Suddenly, the palace was not just a dream, it was a responsibility, a financial burden, and an emotional weight. Edith faced a difficult reality. Even a Vanderbilt fortune struggled to keep a palace alive in the modern era. Staff numbers declined, certain traditions became unsustainable, and the estate itself began to shrink. Piece by piece, the world George had built was reduced. Land sold, forests divided, assets parted with. What remains is a powerful lesson hidden behind beauty. Grandeur is not only built, it must be maintained. And maintenance is where empires often begin to collapse. There is also an emotional cost. A house this large can feel like a kingdom, but it can also feel like a distance. Between owners and staff, between public image and private reality. The larger the palace, the more it demands. And the more it demands, the harder it becomes to live inside it without being shaped by it. So when you look at Biltmore, you are not only looking at luxury, you are looking at the ambitions of an era, the confidence of American industry, the pressure of a dynasty, the hidden labor of service, the artistry of architecture, the engineering of modern comfort, and the quiet truth that time changes everything. In the end, Biltmore survives as a conversation between beauty and cost, a conversation that still matters, because even today we build monuments to power, we design spaces to impress, we chase permanence in an unstable world. Biltmore simply did it first, on a scale that still takes the breath away. Legacy. In 1930, Edith made a courageous decision. She opened Biltmore to the public, not as a relic, but as a living tribute to American ambition. It was a transformation. A private palace became public history. A symbol of one family's wealth became a place where millions could witness the architecture of an era and ask what it meant. Visitors do not come only to admire rooms. They come to feel a moment in time, to stand beneath a 7-story ceiling and understand the scale of confidence that built it, to walk through gardens and recognize the careful hand that shaped nature into beauty. Today, guests move through Biltmore's halls and feel the same sense of wonder George once felt in these mountains. They see craftsmanship, scale, astonishing detail. They step into rooms built to impress the eye and quietly challenge the imagination. Biltmore stands as America's Versailles, a reminder that dreams, no matter the cost, can outlast the dreamer. Because in the end, the mansion is not only a monument to wealth, it is a monument to desire, the desire to build something permanent in a world that refuses to stand still. This is Grand House Archives, Subscribe to open the next chapter. And yet, despite everything, Biltmore survived. It survived because it adapted, because Edith Vanderbilt recognized that the estate could not remain a private kingdom forever. Opening the house to the public did something remarkable. It turned private luxury into public heritage. Suddenly, Biltmore was no longer only a symbol of inequality. It became a window into a vanished era, a place to study architecture, craftsmanship, landscape design, and the psychology of wealth. People visit not only to admire the grand rooms, but to understand the story. How ambition shaped stone, how culture shaped design, and how history shaped the future of the estate. Biltmore became a lesson in permanence and in change. Today, Biltmore stands as a paradox. It is both a celebration and a warning. It celebrates craftsmanship, ambition, and architectural imagination. But it also warns that power, when expressed through excess, always comes with a cost: financial, social, and human. Visitors walk through the banquet hall and feel wonder. They walk through service corridors and feel the weight of labor. They admire the gardens and recognize the effort behind them. That layered experience is what makes Biltmore so compelling. It is not only a palace, it is a story you can physically enter. And perhaps that is the true reason it survives. Not because the Gilded Age should be repeated, but because it should be understood. Biltmore allows us to look at a moment of American history, its confidence, its beauty, its inequality, and see how it built monuments that still shape imagination today.